Welcome to a Burn City Suns Talk Short in our series to preview the regular season. In this one, me and Brennan will talk about who should be the Suns' fifth starter for the regular season. Brendan, we have a tough decision to try to help make here. Maybe somebody will listen to us. We don't know. But it's between Grayson Allen and Josh Okogie when it comes down to that fifth starter spot. And I believe you have some stats from the preseason that show what these two guys have done.
Yeah, and I think just going into this preseason, this was kind of the most interesting position battle. Not specifically between these two guys. It was like there were so many guys that could get this spot, but these
Yeah.
two guys have really shown um, that they belong in this spot. So now the decision comes of who's going to be the starter on opening night. So first, taking a look at Grayson, he's been really impressive, and I think the most impressive thing about him that we hadn't really seen is both his playmaking and his ability to take the ball to the hole. But the big problem with him is his turnovers too. It's 2.5 turnovers per game in the preseason to 3.8 assists. But he's been much more of a willing playmaker than I think me and you both thought. And he's been taking the ball to the hole a lot. And then when you look at Josh Okogie, um, defense always stands out with him. 1.3 steals per game. I think that's a little bit less than Grayson, but he's been picking up, both of these guys been picking up the other team's best player on the court. I think Josh has a little bit better splits from the field, so that gives him the upper hand there. And then just his rebounding and it's really his tenacity on both ends of the floor, how hard he plays, and his willingness to do everything, just put his everything he has into the game. So I think that's what Josh brings to the table compared to Grayson. Um, and then when you look at these two guys in comparison to the team, here's some of the stat leaders from the Suns. So you see Grayson Allen led the team in minutes. He also tied for the lead in assists per game. So you see Josh Okogie I think he's 6'5". He's fourth on the team in rebounds, as well as both of these guys are right there in steals per game with Grayson Allen just right ahead of Josh Okogie, and then Grayson third in points per game as well at 11.8, tied for third with Eric Gordon right behind Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So when you look at this, I mean, you can just see the impact they have on this team. And like I've said in the past, the most important part about this fifth starter spot is how it impacts winning, and both of these guys impact winning. So, just that, with all that being said, Damian, can you break down uh, who your pick for the spot is and why?
So I have to go with Josh Okogie for the fifth starter spot, and this is nothing negative about Grayson Allen at all because Josh Okogie just brings a dynamic part of the game with the defense, right? When you think about the fact that he can pick up the other team's best perimeter player while also an improving jump shot. So you talk about his defense along with being the fifth guy who can be an outlet for Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker out there. That gives him the edge, in my opinion, over Grayson Allen, who Grayson Allen, of course, we know is a knockdown shooter and a good defender. But Okogie is a great defender who also has been driving the ball well in the preseason as well. He's really attacked closeouts in a great way. And that's something that they're going to both have space to do as far as attacking closeouts. And Okogie's done that while shooting the ball well. You mentioned that his splits have been a little better than Grayson Allen's in the preseason. And he has that defense where he can pick you up full court along with playing the passing lanes like he does. So I think he's just a better fit for that fifth starter spot over Allen. And Allen's going to be great coming off the bench for this team because a lot of teams don't have someone with the experience that Allen has as a starter coming off the bench for them.
Yeah, and another thing I forgot to show is this video of Frank Vogel breaking down this fifth starter spot, and then Grayson Allen, what his mindset is with this fifth starter spot. So here's a video. Coach, when it comes to that fifth starter spot, is that something you want to have figured out by the time the regular season comes around?
Yeah, we'll have it figured out. And we won't let anybody know before the regular season. But I do think that it's not something that's going to be static. I think it's something, like I said, even if we we feel good about who that person is. We may still go stretches of our season having someone else in there just to see what type of dynamic that gives us. So there is an element of trial and error throughout the course of an 82-game season, and that'll be part of it.
Grayson, how do you approach that competition for the fifth starter spot? Is it something that you're striving for, or are you just willing to buy into whatever role they?
No, I haven't thought about it much. Like I don't think it makes a ton of difference. I feel like there's a lot of different ways I can help the group, and if I'm playing well, if I'm healthy, if I'm available, I'm gonna play as many games as I want this year. Like my goal every season is to play 82. That means I'm good enough to play and I'm healthy enough to play. And I feel like we can throw a lot of different lineups out. Like it doesn't really matter to me. It's not a pride thing to start the game. Like whenever I get in there, I'm gonna help how I can. So it doesn't really matter to me. I kind of still have the same mentality going in.
So there you see, I think from Grayson Allen, I think he gave the most interesting perspective on this battle for this fifth starter spot. Like, I don't think either of them would care if they got this spot because they're both have shown that they're more than capable of being alongside the big three. But in my opinion, to start the game, like you said, I agree with you, Damian, that Josh Okogie, I think his defense just brings a whole nother element to this starting lineup. But when you look at how much he's improved offensively, that just helps him even more. So I think that both of those elements really combine to have him in this spot. But another thing is that I think that Grayson Allen is a better overall player than Josh Okogie, but that's not what this starting lineup needs. So I think even though Grayson's shown that he's a better overall player than Okogie, that's not what the starting lineup needs. They need someone like that off the bench to come in for Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Him and Eric Gordon off the bench would be a lethal duo just right off the top of the bench, coming in for two of the best guards in the NBA in Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. So I think when you have those two guys off the bench, whether they're together or separate, they can both play. You've seen all three of these guys, Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, and Grayson Allen, just be able to play alongside the big three. So when you have the two guys off the bench that can do that, that just brings a whole another element to what you can do in all the combinations like Grayson was talking about, that you could bring onto the floor and impact the game in different ways. So I think that's an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to see what the exact rotation is. I know we're going to do another video about what we think the rotation should be. And you can go in so many different directions. Like Frank Vogel was saying, it doesn't have to be the same lineup each and every night. It's going to depend on the matchups. It's going to depend on what they want to do. And also, who's going to finish the game? Is it going to be Okogie out there with the four starters? Is it going to be Nurkić? We may get into that in the next video as well. Is he going to finish games, or is it going to be Eubanks? There's so many different ways this can go because this team is so deep. So I agree with Alan that either person shouldn't really be discouraged by not getting that fifth starter spot because they're going to be in there for heavy minutes and be a big part of the team.
Yeah, and like Vogel said, I think even though he didn't specifically say it, I think that they could change their mind very quickly into the season depending on how the guys are playing. Just because, I mean, you can plug in those guys depending on matchups. The problem with both of these guys is that they're basically going to be running 3-guard lineups to start the game. So how can you defend like a tall small forward like Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic when your small forward is 6'5" if it's Josh Okogie. So I think that's a tough decision. I know both of these guys have long wingspans, but that could be a problem. And I mean, we could break down like why Yuta or Keita Bates-Diop could get this spot, which is what I thought going into this preseason, that one of those two guys could show that they deserve the spot. And they haven't been bad, but like I've said in the past, these two guys have just impacted winning the most and shown that they're the best fit alongside the Suns' stars.
Oh, for sure. I definitely agree with that. We talked about it before. I was surprised. I wrote an article that Keita Bates-Diop would be the player to watch in the preseason. I was wrong. He was not the player to watch for the Suns in the preseason. I thought he would play a lot more, and we thought we would see him a lot more alongside the big three because of what he can do on defense. He's somebody who you can argue could be just as good as Okogie because of his length. And you mentioned playing against players like Michael Porter Jr., like a Jason Tatum, those guys who are taller at that small forward and power forward position. How does Okogie match up against those guys? Do you have to put Kevin Durant on Michael Porter Jr., but then who you put on Aaron Gordon, right? So like it really creates mismatches when you have a lack of size out there against some of these Western Conference teams, the Lakers, Denver, even a team like New Orleans, when you have somebody like, a Zion Williamson that's a bowling ball. How do you play against these teams who have this massive size when you might be a little smaller? So we may see Keita Bates-Diop start in certain situations because of his size. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I don't think that would come early in the regular season, no matter what, just because Keita did not play that much in the preseason. Like you said, like he just didn't get that much minutes. He didn't get that much run in with the big three, so you don't know how he fits in. So I don't think that's going to be an experiment that they want to try right away. I think some things would have to go wrong for them to go in that direction.
I agree with that for sure.
So this will be. I mean, it could be a talk of the season all year. I mean, you saw it as soon as KD came over last year. Who should be the fifth starter? Should it be Torrey Craig or Josh Okogie? It eventually ended up being Okogie until the playoffs when Torrey Craig came in against the Clippers, and that was because of a matchup when they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and they just thought that Craig matched up better. So that could be something to watch down the line. Especially, Vogel in the playoffs, he's known for his adjustments. So by the time the playoffs rolls around, this could be a whole different discussion, like who could start. I mean, this is not, in my opinion, going to be a concrete thing throughout the whole year, but Josh Okogie right now, in my opinion, deserves this spot.
Yeah, we're on the same page with this one. It's something that's going to be fluid throughout the year, and especially going into the playoffs because we know how, teams adjust throughout a playoff series when you're playing against a team night in and, night out for 7 games. It definitely changes throughout the series. But during the regular season, especially the start, Okogie deserves that fifth starter spot. But like Grayson Allen was saying, it doesn't matter because both of those guys are going to be major parts of this team winning. And it could be either one of them either night. It could be Eric Gordon come off the bench having a big game. It could be Yuta. Like there's so many players who can have big games to help this team win throughout the regular season. We're going to have a night where Grayson Allen comes off the bench and has 25, 30 points. It's like, oh, wow, maybe he should be starting because he's so explosive. But the fact of having that explosiveness off the bench with Eric Gordon is going to make this team unique. So I think that it's a good problem to have for this. And honestly, it's not really a problem because these players are bought in to helping this team win.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll break all these extra questions we have down on tomorrow's episode where we look at the rotation. I think another interesting part of the rotation is all this ball handling, like who's going to be the main ball handler off the bench. Will it be Grayson Allen? Will it be Jordan Goodwin? So we're going to have our thoughts on that once the Suns roster is finalized after that 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Arizona time, a deadline tomorrow. So we're going to break down the Suns rotation, what we think, who's going to get minutes. Are they going to have like a 10-man rotation, 12-man rotation, 11-man rotation? I don't know. You'll have to wait and see what our thoughts are on this topic when we do this episode tomorrow.
For sure. So make sure you tune in to the Burn City Sports YouTube channel to get our content for the Burn City Suns Talk podcast and shorts. Make sure you follow Burn City Sports on all social media platforms for not just the Suns, but the Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Phoenix Rising, everything Arizona State, Phoenix Mercury. We got you covered in all things Phoenix sports. And until next time, make sure you follow us on social media as well. Peace.